Hello, guys. Welcome to Mindmakers Podcast 17.0. Today with me is Pramod, Kumar, Buravalli, and Sunanda Vashisht. How are you people doing?
Very good.
Good. How are you, Aadit?
Pretty good, pretty good. Did you guys notice we've crossed 100 days since we launched Mindmakers?
Wow.
No, we're not the government, so we don't keep track of
No,
100
I'm
days.
not saying that we're going to do 100. No, the government doesn't keep track of it. The media,
media
keeps track of it.
yeah.
And the Twitter artists do.
Yeah.
But we've crossed 100 days, so I guess we're not
Oh.
doing too bad. We haven't killed each other off.
No.
So I guess not such a bad tenure after all.
Yeah.
So,
It's
but we're not doing any
It's been a
report
fun ride. It's been a fun ride.
Absolutely. But the fact that we're still back here recording it, so the podcast. So, lots of interesting news this week. Lots of ranging from film news to the courts were a lot in news today.
This week, all week.
From Salman's bail to Jayalalitha's, bail as well, acquittal now.
Satyam's Ramlingaraju also
Yes,
got
also
bail.
who got bail today. Yeah. From accused to not accused, or how does it work?
Acquitted. No, it
From
was-
accused to acquitted.
No, my favorite part is when the panelists on TV get the decision they like. In 24 hours, they suddenly start respecting the judiciary. 24 hours ago, they were criticizing heavily. They were criticizing the judiciary heavily.
Although we should be very respectful of the judiciary, it's a very important, organ of democracy. No one can deny that. But some of the judgments recently have been little.
Absolutely. Bizarre?
The conduct of judiciary has been little bizarre.
No, in a democracy, no one is above criticism.
No,
right?
and we do need judicial reforms. No one is denying that, and that is a big thing. Even before this government came out, when we were talking about reforms, we were talking about judicial reforms in a big way. And we said, in fact, I remember I had written a piece where I had said that two big reforms that Prime Minister Modi, if he becomes a prime minister, needs to take care of is police reforms and judicial reforms. These two reforms are the big reforms. But even besides that, I find the conduct little bizarre of the judiciary.
They are trying to set a precedent when none exists, and they're taking it upon themselves to be a little bit of a taller pillar of democracy than the others, because after probably the 10 years of all these scams that have been doing the rounds, they have probably said to themselves, and this is where nobody can intervene and even suggest anything. And Modi mentioned that in one of those conferences with the judges.
Yeah, he did have that
That
question.
is there a course correction that the judges or the people involved in judiciary want to engage in by themselves, or does it have to be institutionalized by suggestions? I think that's where media, us also get into the picture of whether we are able to pull those pillar heights a little bit where the foundation
That who gives the judiciary suggestions, right? I think they should be open to suggestions from a common person or something. There might be a ridiculous suggestion, and there might be a good suggestion. But just because both of them come from a common person, it shouldn't be treated with disdain.
Also, I have been questioning myself all this week that judiciary, judgment and everything. We're saying courts are blind; they do not discriminate based on thing. But the access to judiciary is not the same, and that is something we probably have to get used to till we get judicial reforms to the point. Access to judiciary. So what we are saying that maybe the fact that Salman Khan got on a technical thing got that interim bail, and on the within 48 hours the High Court gave him a bail on a technical point. What I am saying is an ordinary guy would not have been able to get that kind of advice, legal advice. Ordinary guy does not have the access to that.
There is a very big difference between a star or a celebrity getting a certain treatment or at least preference in sort of bails and all that. There is no question about
that.
And at the same time, I don't think Salman is going to go scot-free. This is just an interim 2 months relief for him. Probably by the end of August, you will see much more.
No, but I think the Salman Khan verdict, apart from anything, judiciary was one part of it, brought out the worst from some sections of the film industry. And no, I'm not talking about the appalling statements that an Abhijit or others made. What they are pathetic and condemnable. But the fact that a film industry in a clear-cut case refuses to even say a word about that. They were so coy on
because
TV and stuff.
that too, but they also are completely, they do not understand the kind of country we live in. They do not understand that India
but
is essentially a poor country. There are people here who sell, mothers sell their babies for 300 rupees here. They do not understand that kind of
Sunanda,
India.
but okay, I'll give you that. But then something like that happens on the street, the same guys will come out and with candlelights and start marching, right? But when it
Agenda hai,
comes
usme
to
bhi
one of
agenda
their
hi
own,
hai.
see this trade unionist complex in the film industry.
When did they start coming out with, all these jhanda and all this? Was when Jessica Lal was. That was the first time I saw these people in my this thing. And Jessica Lal was part of the fraternity. I am not saying what happened to Jessica Lal was, saying, but Jessica Lal was able to bring them on the streets, and they were able to make the movies on her and all because she was part of the glamorous fraternity. So I don't think there have been many Jessica Lals before that. Also, there have been many people before that.
After that as well.
They have not come out on the street. So it is also wrong to say कि मोमबत्ती लेके आ जाते हैं. It's only their agenda. जब मर्जी होती है तभी आते हैं.
मैं ऐसा नहीं कहता हूँ कि मोमबत्ती लेके हर वक्त आते हैं. I'm saying that when they come and they start going on all these platitudes about politicians and the system is bad and stuff, who is spoiling the system? When you have a clear-cut case when a guy has ran over and he has fled from the scene. Worse, last year a driver shows up saying that I was driving the car 12 years later, and you don't have the audacity to question this stupidity.
Yeah.
And
I don't blame them. I don't blame them saying that we sympathize with their family. ठीक है, absolutely. And Salman Khan has done great work in being human. No one is denying that.
Hierarchy of in the hierarchy of greater good, for at least as of now, in the minds of Indian public, in the eyes of Indian public, the judiciary and the Indian military services. Those are the two ones that have stood the ground, at least majority. I'm saying 90% and above.
Yes.
The 10% is still, there are corruption issues also. But Bollywood doesn't come even, I would say, not even 50th rank in that hierarchy.
And also I would say that there are cases, and this is something that I hope somebody who's listening to us in powers to be understands this, that I have known rag pickers who are in jail for 6 years, 7 years for a petty theft. So that needs to change.
Actually, I was watching a TV show.
Under trials, that situation needs to change.
Right. I think it was a show, Crime Patrol on Sony, and they were talking about somebody who was accused of stealing like 200 rupees or 1000 rupees, I don't know. And he was in jail for such a long time. Then in the end, he said that I admit to my crime, and the judge said that tumhari is 2 months, but you have spent so much time in jail, so tumhari saza maaf ho gayi. And so he's like, मैंने पहले ही बोल दिया होता. So this needs to go. But anyways,
I think the holy pedestal that the judiciary is sitting on also will unravel as democracy becomes much more mature. Lot more accountability will be asked of the judiciary system. I certainly, for some weird reason, like the jury system here. You bring the public to the fore in the decision making process.
But I'm going to ask you something, okay? And I'm not generalizing this or something. Do you think sometimes we become a little more too emotional to be on the jury?
They question, they don't let you. They have to recuse yourself.
You have to recuse yourself.
No. I know.
That is where maturity comes in.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I personally like the jury system as well over here.
But I don't think we are ready for it yet.
Exactly.
I don't think we are ready for it. It's the same thing. Like
India, in a participatory democracy, the ushering in of that.
No, I'll give you an example. This is what Salman Khan's lawyer said, right, in court. And Sanjay Dutt, I think Justice Katju said that Sanjay Dutt led people on the path of Gandhigiri from Lage Raho Munna Bhai. So tomorrow, in front of 12 people, they'll say, "Arey, Salman Khan ne to ye kiya. That is why he should be let go." Ek bhul
I
ho
don't
gayi.
think.
I don't think that is taking it too literal in the jury's.
No, but this is the arguments they made in the court.
But the judge obviously has a way of looking at the opinions that come from an empathy standpoint versus whether that has resulted.
I'm not denying that. I'm not even questioning the maturity of the Indian people. I'm saying we do have a fantastically mature generation which will be capable to make this decision. But I'm saying, jury ऐसे तो नहीं आती कि 10 लोगों को रास्ते से उठा दिया. From 100 you have to go to 12.
Become much more responsive. I think we are ready for it. It has small experimentation has to start, Sunanda ji, because I'll tell you, for our generation, we have seen that people don't know the law as much as our previous generation used
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
They used to have that as part of आपको याद है
Yeah,
civics?
yeah. Civics and
There are
all that.
young kids have forgotten what the constitution says, that you are well within your rights to be part of a case. You can actually be a party to a case even though nothing you are not related to it at all.
Right.
That was inserted by Ambedkar, who did his law in Columbia
Absolutely,
University.
yeah.
absolutely.
Look at
So
the
what it comes down to is that judicial reforms are the need of the hour, and everything else, Salman Khan and Jayalalitha and all this will come and go. But what we really need is long-lasting judicial reforms.
Today there was another thing also. The Jayalalitha's case lasts for 18 months and then it finishes off in 10 seconds. Today, the judgment.
Arey.
10 seconds? Kitna tha?
Look, if the idlis are going to get cheaper, I'm all for it. If you are
Amma canteens and Amma idlis.
If you are trivializing the acquittal process, there's still going to be somebody, some Swami and his friends will probably have.
But still, regardless, what the court decided must have decided. I still can't fathom people bathing posters with milk and God knows. But
Well, that's
Who said that
another
is milk? That is white paint. We
That
think
is-
it is milk.
that's another podcast. Why is Tamil Nadu the way that it is with its
With its
politicians
politicians.
and
Yes, you North
filmmakers?
Indians eat idlis like you never tasted idlis before.
Acha, Pramod is saying that we should not exclude, the fans of N.T. Rama Rao and what happened in Andhra as well. That's what. Are you saying that, Pramod?
Yeah, I am saying
Or
that.
have you
I
seen
am a
something of late in Houston that has disappointed you as well?
No.
Okay, I think we're going to have a big north-south divide here on the
exactly.
podcast.
Big fan of India.
Exactly. So on that note, we'll move on to the second part of the podcast. So yeah, we had an interesting points of view on what happened with different cases, including the Salman Khan case. And one point where we all agreed, I think, and you agree with me, Sunanda and Pramod, that the conduct of some sections, parts of Bollywood was appalling, right? But that's our opinion. But we want to know if that's the opinion, what you guys have as well. Is that the majority opinion? That's why we had the Mind survey question this week was about that. So do go on the survey tab and do check out. And it should be on our homepage as well. We got the interesting response to our survey last time. Did the conduct of certain Indian journalists undermine the government's effort in
Yes,
Nepal?
guys, democratize the discourse. Tell us what
Exactly.
you want to. Tell us what you
But by the
want
way,
to
the
say.
last survey, it was overwhelming 93% people that said yes.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, our results are open as well, so it's not like we hide it from the public. You're very welcome to go
That is
and check
another
it
group
out.
that has taken a big fall from the pedestal, the Extraordinary League of Indian Journalists.
So, but anyways,
yeah.
that said,
But going ahead, another important part, thing that happened this week and last week, and which I feel that did not get enough, as historic as it was, it did not get as much attention from the media and everybody else, was the historic land border boundary agreement that we passed with Bangladesh. This has been in the sideline since 1974. So when Indira Gandhi actually, the credit should be given where it was, Indira Gandhi was the one who had actually proposed this idea. And from there, and the way it was passed, I think is the credit goes to the ruling party, also credit where it should be due here also. Not one opposing voice either in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. The momentous decision, everybody said that this is a great occasion and this land border agreement, this constitutional amendment should be ratified. What it does is, I think Narendra Modi's policy or foreign policy of neighborhood first. This is what in the first year of his government, the fact that he went ahead with LBA shows that he really does think about
no, but
neighborhood
before
first.
that, Sunanda, if you want to give a quick background about what LBA means for everyone.
LBA is an agreement that basically talks about the enclaves that were left after the partition. There are two partitions. One was the 1947 partition of India, which divided East and West Pakistan.
Yes.
East Pakistan is currently now liberated and enjoying its freedom as Bangladesh, which thanks to Indira Gandhi, Srimati Indira Gandhi. After 1971, those enclaves, some of those enclaves still remained, which means basically some Bangladeshis were living in India, some Indians were living in Bangladesh. It was such a very And unfortunately, the geography of that area is so difficult to even map. It is a river, rivulet, or something that just crisscrosses.
I do want to say this for the benefit of our listeners, that there has been net gain land from the Indian side. We have not, and this land that has been these enclaves, they did not belong to anybody.
No, that is also FII and no footnote for Indian real estate developers. There are certain pockets that are available for development. There were 106 enclaves from India's side and 92 from Bangladesh's
side.
Yeah.
The swapping happens, and what that does is citizens who are wanting to stay in that particular that
they'll be given a
enclave,
choice.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then if the Bangladesh, the people living in Bangladesh wish to immigrate, there was a pathway also created. So this is very historic. B, the biggest ally to India over the past 10 years has been Bangladesh. You have to give credit to Sheikh Hasina when it is due.
Yes.
In spite of the attack on Hindus, which have been on the up, there have never been an administration in Bangladesh who went after the perpetrators of the 1971 genocide. If anybody can talk about genocide, it is that
Bangladesh,
genocide which killed millions of refugees, irrespective of whether they were Hindus, Buddhists, or even Muslims. Were killed ruthlessly by the
But Sheikh
Pakistani
Hasina took a stand on them, which was a very unpopular stand for her, but she did take
She
it.
took a hit. Politically, it was not a good move to make, but she stood her ground. She stood with India. She handed over several rebels from the northeastern
the Jamaat-e-Islami.
No, not just those. The ones from Alpha and the ones from the
Near
other,
Assam.
the ones in Nagaland. So she has done a great job, and it is time India stood by its neighbors, Bangladesh, Nepal, for whatever their contribution is to the stability.
And what is another major thing as well? This was done by Manmohan Singh in 2000. This was attempted by Manmohan Singh in 2011. But at that time you had Assam and West Bengal opposing to it. So for the first time, you had the views of Assam and West Bengal also mainstream. There were conversations with the chief ministers, and they were on board.
There was also talk when they were talking about keeping Assam out of it. I am so glad that good sense prevailed, and Assam is now part of it.
Gana Parishad, or the erstwhile opposition, because now the opposition in Assam is the BJP, said that if we wish that the earlier consultations would have taken place the same way, I think in the Rajya Sabha.
Yeah.
Exactly, and this still needs ratification by some state assemblies, but it will happen.
It will happen.
Number two, this is the first time a political roadmap is being set to unravel the brutal partition that happened, which should have been done in a much more orderly fashion had the British not left in a hurry, and probably purposefully so. They would have been much more orderly instead of the massacres and the brutal scars that India, Pakistan and Bangladesh today live with because of that legacy.
In Bangladesh also, there has been unanimous support for this. Sheikh Hasina, of course, she hailed it as a new milestone. Khalida Zia, she said it's an important day in our lives.
There were two things that Bangladeshis were asking, which was the Teesta Water Accord, and then the second, which is the land swap agreement, which would give the Bangladeshis a reason to cheer. Both are being accomplished.
Yes.
Modi went and made kind of a sort of a broader gesture with Mamta Banerjee, gave her credit also to kind of to bring
made
her
a
on
part
board.
of the thing, which is exactly how it should have been.
Taking these chief ministers all the way to China also to get them engaged is such a cooperative perfect example of cooperative federalism that we have to appreciate everybody involved.
Yes.
Not just Modi, but also everybody.
But and irrespective of whatever people might say that he goes and talks to Mamata and stuff like that as the Prime Minister of the country.
He has to do it.
He has to. You cannot be like a political pariah.
No, that's nonsense. Anybody who says that does not understand the interests of India, does not understand how the Indian system works, and I think they are best ignored.
Yeah, and a lot of other things that they
and
don't
you have to
understand.
give credit to Manmohan Singh also, who took the step in 2011 with Sheikh Hasina. It was politically at that juncture. Their chips were down. They were going.
They didn't have the credibility.
They had lost credibility. Even whatever good steps they were.
There was another thing also that Sheikh Hasina, when she launched her election campaign and other things also, she was
banking on
this to happen.
That I was the one who bettered the relationships with India.
So it's important that India stood with her.
No, absolutely.
Not just Bangladesh, but also with Sirisena in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Now Sri Lanka is denying access to China for the first time in its history.
Yes.
Nepal, the relief effort with no intentions to kind of extend your influence was done in such a,
I'll tell you
Seamlessly,
something.
and that's what I'm saying, that Modi's formula, so to speak, of neighborhood first has really done well. But I do want to say one thing here, because I know most people have forgotten. I don't want to forget it. I want to give a shout out to our external affairs minister Sushma Swaraj for handling this deftly. The way she has done it, the way she got it passed in Rajya Sabha, the way it was done in Lok Sabha, and the way, because before that she had gone and had a bilateral meeting with Sheikh Hasina in Bangladesh, in Dhaka.
She reminds me of Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
as an external
I
affair.
always thought she was going to be the best
No,
external
and
affairs
absolutely, and her performance has been incredible. Actually,
Yes.
that reminds me into 2014 September. I wrote a piece saying the Asian doctrine, understanding Narendra Modi's
Yes,
foreign policy,
yes.
and you can see the Asian doctrine how it has been. He has done. And one
And I
thing,
remember I told you that time you need to rename it to Modi Doctrine.
Modi doctrine. Yes. Hopefully, I'll write
Yeah,
one more.
Because as Modi Doctrine fleshes out and we know
fleshes
more
out.
about it.
And here I'm going to, with a pinch of salt, I'm going to quote what Arun Shourie said, that when Narendra Modi was talking about, his focus is still China.
And the pettiness with which the foreign departments of, whether it is embedded within the Ministry of External Affairs, was basically to try to arm twist anybody without understanding what their real positive requirements was, is being undone after a long time. I'm seeing this after 15 years.
It
With
has-
Israel, let me just quote the example of Israel. The under the kind of table relationship what we enjoyed with Israel is no longer a secret.
Yes.
The relationship with Russia is absolutely on the upswing. Our troops marched
With
in the
them.
Victory Day parade.
Yes, yes.
I am so enthusiastic with his trip to China, because China also understands that Sun Tzu is outdated.
Yeah.
No, not just China.
I'm not sure if they do.
You're talking about China,
Oh, please.
the relationship with Japan, the relationship with Vietnam, where Pranab Mukherjee went.
No.
But what I'm saying is that maybe China now understands that we understand Sun Tzu too.
No, or
That is a point.
चा को ची समझ में नहीं आता, चाणक्य को चीनी समझ में नहीं आता.
Chalo, अच्छा, we've moved past the Chacha Nehru
Yeah.
idealization of China. But
I didn't mean चाची और चाचा.
मैंने दूसरा चा नहीं लिया ना कि अब चाणक्य की बात कर रहे हैं तो चाचा जी की भी बात होनी चाहिए ना. No, but no, apart from that, you're talking about the trips to Australia, you're talking about, so and we had a fantastic piece about the Ramanna Muppala writing about Trishanku on mind makers.
Yes.
We've had some really good foreign policy pieces on this. When people just say that अच्छा Modi ji to foreign gaye ye, it's not
They don't
without anything.
understand,
I mean
yeah.
the kind of
I think it's lack of awareness more than anything, which is
no, but also a little bit more communication would help also from the government side. And this is where I'm going to repeat what I said a long time. The Prime Minister needs a press secretary like they have one in White
If
House.
he gets a press secretary, he will not give us an exclusive interview. I don't want that. फिर उनके थ्रू जाना पड़ेगा. इनको तो सुनाई देना चाहिए ना.
अच्छा चलो आपको इंटरव्यू देने के बाद press
Let him
secretary
have a-
appoint कर लो.
yes.
But at least you're saying that he should appoint the press secretary.
No, I say on a serious note, there is a lot of merit to your suggestion that he should get press secretary.
So yeah, to conclude this, that the team of foreign policy, of foreign affairs that they have, led by Narendra Modi, Sushma Swaraj as the External Affairs Minister, Subramaniam Jaishankar as the Foreign Secretary, and Ajit Doval as the National Security Advisor. Let's not forget the role that he plays in this.
Yes.
So it's an amazing team that right now Narendra Modi has, and they have started on a fantastic note. Even the biggest detractors of the government will give him an A to an A+ on foreign policy.
And I think it's not just being the thing. We are, with these countries, with our neighbors, like for example with Bangladesh, we are now talking about energy,
Absolutely.
all the
and
stuff.
let's not forget also about the textiles and the imports, the
Yes.
trade exchange that's going to happen between India and Bangladesh.
Yes.
So I think it's.
I think India can strengthen Bangladesh's position, and India will benefit a lot from strong Bangladesh. So that is very important.
In the scheme of things, for roti kapda makan, bijli sadak pani, Bangladesh plays a very important role in terms of electricity, in terms of kapda, in terms of your relationship mending with the Islamic world. Bangladesh still has the potential to be a moderate Islamic
Islamic
republic,
country.
just like Indonesia is turning out to be. Over the next few years, you will see a lot of dalliance with China also.
Absolutely.
One
See,
of
there
my
is
favorite-
no hope with Pakistan. With Pakistan, we have to deal the way we do because Pakistan has
Karan
gone
Thapar
beyond.
is so offended when
this.
when
I
you
know.
say that.
There is no hope for Pakistan. I mean, honestly, when today, the whole world is abuzz with Samuel Hersh's thing, and true or false, we don't know. But what struck me was that what has happened to Pakistan? Look at the country it has become.
No, and there was this whole insinuation that they were willing to give up their arsenal for $100 billion. All of this is hearsay and borders on.
Also, the
conspiracy
fact
theories
that
also.
Pakistan is ready to give its nuclear bomb to Middle East whenever they
Arabia.
need it.
But
Saudi
then
Arabia.
again,
the
with
joke is that
Pakistan-
Saudi Arabia has already developed nuclear capability. It's called Pakistan.
I think I think this is. I'm not sure if this was Hussain Haqqani or someone who said the biggest enemy of Pakistan is denial.
That was Hussein Haqqani.
That
I
was,
remember. Yeah.
and till they don't, do that, the whole country right now is going on like parts of the country anti-India
So
policy.
my point of
denial.
bringing Pakistan here in this discussion, although we are not talking about Pakistan, is the only reason is that because I think in 10 years in Manmohan era, we were our foreign policy was only Pakistan. I'm so glad we are moving away from it now, and that is why we are investing in Bangladesh, we are investing in
joke
Nepal.
was both our foreign minister and Arnab Goswami only focused on Pakistan.
I know, it's a joke.
Without pushing Pakistan, hence giving them a so-called reason to unite their so-called difficulties against India.
Yeah.
So this is.
I'm just saying
praying-
that be very careful about Pakistan, but just ignore
I
them.
am praying that China understands also that the relationship they are developing with Pakistan is not unwatched by us. We know that the highway is getting built.
Yeah.
These
But they are
infrastructure
needling
projects-
us. China is
No,
needling
yeah,
us
that's fine. If
unnecessarily.
They want to find
Z
work.
was in
No,
Pakistan
if
for
they are
the
going
saying
to-
God Nishane Pakistan and all
I don't
that.
know why a
They
huge
call
highway,
them.
how huge highway is being built when you
Yeah.
can fly from Beijing to Pakistan in 6
They need
hours.
because they have
Maybe they
this
want to drive there, na?
No, nostalgia of old Chinese the spice route. But you also have to understand if they can fly. It's
Silk
not
Route,
just the
yeah.
fly Silk Route. Sorry.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So China is the only country that has not given up on territorial expansion.
That
they
is
are the
because they
only
have to
country.
keep the
They have
people
to-
busy. That's
exactly.
unrealistic. Parts of
China is the
Thailand,
only country
that
that really wants to expand itself.
No,
now.
and there is an interesting thing about again I'm going to quote Shauri Saab on this, that deception is the art of Chinese foreign policy. It's
and that was an
it's-
excellent piece he
He wrote
no,
that.
and this is coming from his book actually.
Yeah.
This is coming from 2 years ago when he was this is what Chinese foreign policy, and Narendra Modi I think has understood.
Yeah.
Probably the Indian foreign policy is construed amongst similar thing, and what happens in the next 3 or 4 years remains to be seen. Thus beginning is, I mean, he started with a bang, no
He does.
question
And
about
the
that.
appointment of Mr. Kamath as the BRICS chairman, then the new impending trip to China with Russia putting as much influence on China to kind of mend its way on the eastern side, which it is facing its own difficulties in Xinjiang province. So this dalliance with Pakistan is short-lived. If they think that they are going to develop Pakistan as a counterweight to India, they are sorely mistaken.
You think Balochistan
That's almost
will
like saying
almost-
India is going to develop Taiwan as a counterweight to China.
China. It's not going to happen.
Their theoretical this thing, they should come out of it. China also, I feel there's a lot of potential.
No, but there is so many years of mentality that has been ingrained.
Also,
But before-
China also has to understand that they need to coexist. Those guys don't want to coexist.
No, but they
Well, we
want to,
don't
but
know.
they're thinking India as a very big competitor for
Again,
resources. That's where this whole thing is.
yeah,
stemming out.
exactly. So this is a good stopping point before we go into the last comments on and I have a couple of questions on the domestic policy which we'll discuss. I wanted to tell you, please do follow us on Twitter at MYINDMAKERS. Please like our Facebook page. Again, it's Mindmakers, MYINDMAKERS. You can follow me on my personal account, Aadit Kapadia. It's at ASK0704 on Twitter, or Sunanda at SUNANDA VASHIST on Twitter, and Pramod at PBURAVALLI on Twitter. So, what coming to this exemplary performance in external affairs to a couple of domestic legislations that they were passed, and Pramod wrote an excellent piece on the goods and services tax,
GST,
GST that was passed
Gist
last
of
week.
GST.
Right.
I love the title, by the way.
There are two interesting conundrums, right? Whereas the government is getting a little bit of credit for passing the GST, it is also have a little bit of criticism for
On the
retrospective
taxation policy,
which we
yes.
also featured on Mind
Man
Maker. So we
and-
have two economic pieces on one on retrospective taxation, or two pieces on taxation and one on GST. So give a brief, quick overview of the GST reform.
The
Pramod.
GST tries to bring all the central and the state taxes into one big bouquet where some taxes were actually being taxed. So there was a need for a long time initiated by Atal Bihari Vajpayee to bring certain taxes within the central ambit, but some within the state ambit, go away from some of those redundant taxes, bring some of those high revenue generators like petroleum or alcohol over a period of time into the ambit of the central GST. The forming of the GST Council, which is kind of a very interesting cora
Innovative,
of
yeah.
people from the center and the state. Again, the cooperative federalism part, which is where can we extract maximum revenue. If you want your 40 or 42% back from the center, you generate more revenue. Hence, I am putting this under the ambit of the state GST versus not putting in the central GST. This is going to add over a period of time about 2% to the GDP. Then the retroactive taxation piece, which I feel emotionally and politically that was done because of a political intent. At that point in time, there were certain companies and countries which were trying to exert influence in core critical infrastructural areas like telecom and
And I
On
agree with
GST,
you.
I have a question
No,
for
but
Aadit.
we'll come to GST. No, but on this quick thing, I agree with you. I sympathize with you. But as the finance minister said as well, that he does not intend to use this legislation. He does not.
But that's
intend to
not the point.
But that's not the point. There is no business of such a legislation right now in India. Do you think India needs a legislation like that right now?
It does, because why I support its existence right now is Indian finance ministers are made fun of outside of India. There is no deterrence value whatsoever to be used within the legislative ambit to go after these companies.
Why are they made fun of?
They are, because they're eternally seekers of investment. They are
But
not
then
able
that's
to talk
everybody.
about.
That's everybody. That is America also right
But
now.
at the same time, when you have certain, I would say again, I use the word segue because you have to have certain legislations that back you up in case a company has to be, you have to pursue a certain company, not a country,
But the contrary perspective to that is that legislation is frightening other countries to invest in your
no
country.
company gets frightened. That is a bill. I mean, I would
No,
say.
I am not saying this is my position. I'm just saying a contrary view to this is that.
No.
Because people are saying that there is no, that's what the companies are saying, that investment is not coming in because people feel that
That is
they
almost like you are criticizing Obama for trying to bring the financial sector under a little bit of regulation, not legislation.
Now let's not start the criticism of Obama. I have a
Has
couple of other
investment not flowed
quibbles.
into the US? US is still growing much
I don't.
faster.
I think I really have to disagree with you, Pramod here. I really do think that this piece of economic legislation is a bad legislation. It should be done away
Same
with.
here.
That's what
Not
I
right away. Maybe I will agree with you next year.
Well, we'll stick to our positions for a year,
yeah,
though.
maybe, yeah.
No, and you saw that's what I said about the budget as well. That I think this needs to go. Narendra Modi has said that he wants the ease
And
of doing in
you
business.
cannot just say that, oh, we are not going to use it against you. That is not the point. The point, you cannot have arbitrary policy in a big country like
that
India.
will affect the case against Vodafone. They've got something going on with them, with
Yeah, which we don't
Etisalat
know,
and all
yeah.
of that. I have my own gut feeling is this has a lot of national security implications, which I am not privy to, or I have to say that I'm not privy to.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. So that's an interesting note to end the podcast on. So I know you had we had a lot of questions on the GST, and I promise we'll do another podcast on the GST and the economic policy. Time is of the essence here, and again, as we do every week, we have overindulged ourselves when while discussing issues that we like. So once again, do keep sending us your feedback. We would love to hear what you say on the podcast, on the pieces. news. We have a couple of fantastic pieces on different perspectives coming up. We've started a new section called the Travelogues, and we intend to start a couple of other new sections pretty soon.
Yes.
So do keep visiting www.mind.net for more news, views, podcasts, and a lot of fun stuff. We'll come back next week with more information, more gossip if Pramod is letting us know about the national security issues, but definitely more invigorating discussions like we had today. All right, everyone, it's a good night from Houston.